All right, we're back. We're live. Well, I'm live. Anyway, here we go. Number 14. Number 14 is factorable. That's great because I'm getting tired of the synthetic division. So since it's factorable, I don't need to do my P over Q list. I'm just going to go straight to grouping. Here we go. In the first set of parentheses, I'm going to take out an x squared, and then I'm left with 3x plus 8. And since I need a 3x plus 8 out of the other parentheses, I'll be taking out a negative 1. So my final parentheses are the x squared minus 1 on the outside and the 3x plus 8 on the inside matching set. When I go for my x-intercepts, the x squared minus 1 will give me 1 and negative 1. And the 3x plus 8 will give me negative 8/3. My y-intercept is going to be negative 8, and now I'm ready to graph. So I'm just putting my points on here. Again, don't forget to label them. And according to my original problem with that odd exponent, I should be having a bumpy line. So here we go. Let's use a different color. And there's 14. We're almost done. Let's go to the last page. All right. 17. I have to jump back. Oh, sorry. We've got 15 and 16. Just realized that. All right, 15 and 16. 15 is not factorable. So again, I'm going to have to go to my calculator and put that in. This one's going to be a slightly longer P over Q list. When I look at P, the factors of 4, I'm going to do this over here to the side, are 1, 2, and 4. And when I go for my factors of 2, they're going to be 1 and 2. So when I make my list, I'll have positive and negative 1, 2, and 4. I'm putting everything over 1. But then I have to put everything over the half as well. So I'm not going to have any repeats, though, when I write this down. So I'll have 1/2, and that's it, because the 2 over 2 and the 4 over 2 that I can get from this are already counted. So there's my list. Any of those numbers are going to be in my graph, some of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the graphing calculator. All right, so I've gone ahead and put the equation in, and I'm going to graph it. And it's kind of hard to see some of the points. It looks like one of the x-intercepts is negative 2. Another one looks like a half. So what I could do, again, is go to the table. I've set mine to go up by halves. So it does. Negative 2 is 0, and a half is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and list those in there under my x-intercepts. But let's say you couldn't tell. You couldn't see quite how that was going to go. Remember, you can always use the second trace button, the calc option, to figure that out and use the 0. So I'm going to do that. And what I'm going to do is test the point that I think might be a half. So it's asking me right now, test on the left. So I'm going to hit enter because it is to the left of the point. And then I'm going to move below. So it says right bound. I'm going to hit enter for yes. And then it's asking to guess. So I hit enter for yes. And it does show up. A half is one of them. And we can talk about more of that in class. So anyway, I'm going to cheat with one of them. I will start with the negative 2. So here goes the negative 2. I do have all my x's, so I'm just going to fill it in. And again, I'm looking for some type of pattern in the numbers. And it seems that there is, so I'm going to go ahead and put my x's in there. And when I'm done, I'm going to group because there's 4 terms. So let's group. And in the first set of parentheses, I can take out an x squared, and I'm left with 2x minus 1, which is what I want the second set of parentheses to be. And so to get that, I'm taking out a negative 2. So I end up with x squared minus 2 and 2x minus 1. And I'm going to take those parentheses and put them back up into my final factored parentheses. So x squared minus 2 and 2x minus 1. And now I'm going to get the x-intercepts from there. Well, the 2x minus 1, I never cheated at the half. So that's the half that's there. The x squared minus 2, when I take the square root of that, I will end up with positive 1.4 and negative 1.4. But then what I have to remember is that I cheated with the negative 2, so I need some parentheses that got me there. So x plus 2. My y-intercept is 4, and now I'm ready to graph. So this graph, unfortunately, it's going to go a little bit into the picture. But here's 4. Here is negative 2, negative 1.4. I've got my half, and I've got my 1.4. And again, it's supposed to be a U. Nothing's bouncing. It's only going through. So let's go ahead and put that on there. I'll use a different color. There you go. And there's your shape. All right, let's move on to 16. So first thing, does 16 look factorable? It does. I'm going to do a little erasing from another problem. So since it's factorable, I'm not going to worry about this P over Q list. I'm going to go straight to grouping. All right, in the first set of parentheses, I'm taking out x squared, and I'm left with 2x minus 5. So second set of parentheses, 2x minus 5, and I'm taking out a negative 2. So my parentheses are x squared minus 2 and x minus 5. The x squared minus 2 can become 1.4 and negative 1.4, and then 5. My y-intercept is 10, and now I'm ready to graph my points. And it's going to be a bumpy line, only going through, no bouncing. And there's your final shape for 16. All right, let's finish this up. Let's go to the last page. 17. 17 does not look to be factorable, so I'll have to come up with my P over Q list. So when I do that, P, Q, it's going to be just the factors of 6. So again, even though I only listed 4 numbers, it's really 8 numbers because there's the positive and the negative. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the graphing calculator. All right, so you can see there's my equation. It's graphing. And when I look at the zeros, it looks like negative 3, negative 2, and 1. I'm going to double check by looking at my table. So I see 1 works, and I see negative 2 works. And if I want to go ahead and see if negative 3 works, it works as well. So I'm going to go ahead and write them all down. And I'm going to cheat with one of them. I think I'll cheat with the 1. And here we go. All right, so I'm going to factor this because I see numbers that are factorable. All right, let me move my graph back. All right, so x squared plus 5x plus 6. I'm going to factor this into x plus 2 and x plus 3. And now I can get my other parentheses up there. These two parentheses are going to account for the negative 3 and negative 2. I did cheat with the 1, so I need to put the parentheses up for that one, which I would put x minus 1. My y-intercept is negative 6. Now I'm ready to graph. All right, now I'm ready to graph, and it's going to be a bumpy line. Whoops. Hold on. All right, there we go. There's our shape. All right, final graph. That is definitely not factorable. My P over Q list is going to be a little bit longer than any of the others. So let me just move my graph down so I can list these factors. So my factors of 2, well, that's simple. 1 and 2. My factors of 6. And now I'm ready to create my list. So simple are just 1 and 2. But now these all have to go over 2 and 3 and 6. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So putting everything over 2, I'll have a half. 2 over 2 is still 1. Now I'm going to put everything over 3, so I'm going to end up with 1/3 and 2/3. And now I'm going to put everything over 6, so 1/6 and 2/6. So let's go ahead and put this in the graphing calculator and see what happens. All right, so there's the equation. It's in the graphing calculator. A little tougher to see. It looks like it's going through -1. I'm going to quickly check my table. And it does. It goes through -1. So I am going to go ahead and put that up there in just a second. But, you know, it's going through some other points, and they don't show up in my table as easily as any of the other ones have. So I'm actually going to go back to the graph. I'm going to zoom in near the center, the origin. So I'm going to do that by going to zoom 2 for in, and I'm just going to move my cursor over to this area because I'm thinking something might happen here. So I just tap enter to actually make it happen. And I can see the -1 actually pretty clear. Let's see if I can circle that one. Nope. But what I'm going to look at is the point over next to it, to the right of it. So I'm going to use my second trace button to go to the 0 for calculate. And I'm going to test to the left of it, which it is to the left of it. And I'm going to move it to the right and see what happens here. And lucky, I get one of my zeros, which is -2/3, which is in my P over Q list. So I'm going to write down -1 and -2/3. Which one am I going to cheat with? I think I'm just going to start out with the -1. All right, you'll notice some of the stuff from number 17 is gone. I had to make room. So I'm going to cheat with the -1 and hope for the best. So 6. I will be erasing that in just a little bit. So when I look at those numbers, I definitely don't see a pattern. So I'm going to do synthetic division again, and this time I'm going to use my -2/3. And I'm going to take the numbers that I was left with, these, and I'm going to put them in my synthetic division box. All right, so bringing down the 6, when I multiply that, I get -4. When I multiply that with -2/3, I get -10. Then I get -2, 0, and you know I didn't need the 0. So does this look factorable? I don't know yet. I'm going to put some x's with it first. I'm going to try my quick x, so a times c, b is here. And when I think of all my factors of 18, I don't see anything coming up for 15. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to go to the quadratic formula. All right, so quadratic formula, opposite of b, plus or minus. I'm going to square b. Then 4 times a times c. Then everything will eventually be divided by 2 times a, which is 12. So working on the square root, I'm going to put that in my calculator. And I end up with -15 plus or minus the square root of 153. And then all of that's divided by 12. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my calculator. And when you come back, you're going to see the final 2 answers. So I'm pausing. Hold on. All right, so I put it into my graphing calculator, and I'm going to highlight the direction of my answers. So if you look, I get -0.2, and I get -0.23. So I'm going to go ahead and put those into my x-intercepts. And I did round considerably. Now I'm going to put in my parentheses. So remembering that I cheated with the -1, I'm just going to put in x plus 1. And that I cheated with the -2/3, I'm just going to put x plus 2/3, very basic. And then if I think about what got me to my decimal numbers, that was 6x squared plus 15x